What does your sexual framework look like? Janelle here, certified sex educator, romance book lover, and I want to talk to you about a core sexual health concept, and that is a sexual framework. So your sexual framework is simply the system of expectations and knowledge and perceived norms and values and rules and experiences that shape your personal understanding of sex and sexuality and sexual health. So if we want to live our best sexual lives or really have satisfying sexual health in our lives, it's vital that we understand what our sexual framework actually looks like. So let's look at the different elements. Now, an expectation is what you think should happen sexually. Then we have sexual knowledge. So sexual knowledge is what you know or think you know about sex-related concepts. So that could be something like understanding anatomy, or it could be how pregnancy works or how you prevent pregnancy, or it could be, how you believe an orgasm happens. This is all sexual knowledge, and it's based on the facts about sex. Then we have perceived norms. And the perceived part is really important here because it's what you believe is typical sexual behavior. So this is what you believe is happening. It doesn't have to actually be grounded in truth, but it's your perception of what is norm, like what is a typical behavior. Then we have our sexual values. Now, sexual values are those principles defining what is right for a person sexually. And then we have sexual rules, and the sexual rules are the behavioral expectations that we set for ourselves to uphold certain sexual values. And then we have our experiences, what we actually experience. So all of these things work together to establish our understanding of sex, of sexuality and sexual health. So if you're really wanting to master the skill of sex in your life, and I talked about this concept of sex being a skill in this video, if you really want to master this skill in your life, it's vital that you take time to really dissect what is your sexual framework? What does it look like? What are your expectations? What's your knowledge? Is it accurate knowledge? What are your norms? Are those, is that a realistic norm? Is that actually what's happening? What are those values that you have? Do they still work for you? What were they grounded in? And then connected to those values, what are the rules that you are following? And then of course, looking at your experiences and the reality. This idea of reality is so vital because when it comes to our sexual framework, they're actually really established before we get to the point in life when we are, or I should say there's a foundation established before we actually get to the point of stepping into our sexuality and exploring our sexual self and engaging in sexual experiences, because we see sexual messaging throughout our whole life, whether it be about relationships or consent or dating, or it be explicit sexual imagery. You are seeing depictions of sex and sexual health and sexuality throughout your whole life, and those depictions are shaping your sexual framework. And the reality is that all of those depictions are a performance. All of the sex you see is a performance. It's not real. So that's why it's so vitally important that we take time to really dissect and understand what is our sexual framework. And is it based in reality, or is it based in this performance of sex that we have seen throughout our life? So it's really important that we analyze our sexual framework and we see, hey, this is working, this is not working. I need to unlearn this, I need to learn this, and so we can transform it into something that is really serving us and adding value and goodness and pleasure and joy to our lives. So if you want to explore your sexual framework, I invite you to download this worksheet. I'll link to it here and in the description. And basically, it's a real simple, just a few prompts for you to explore what does your sexual framework look like, and is it working for you? Is it not? And then, stick around and we can talk more about how we can transform our sexual framework into something that is just adding goodness and joy and pleasure to our lives.